Hi, and welcome to the channel. Today's class is another beautiful mix of moving with some longer holds in between. Something here on this channel that I like to call yin to vin. So we'll slow down, we'll hold, and we'll be supported in our postures using props if you like to use them. Always an option. And then we'll have some gentle movement as always in between. If you're going to use props for this class, I would suggest having a couple pairs of blocks. They'll be super helpful. We're going to do some inner thigh stretches and just some variety on poses that we would maybe not normally hold for as long as we would as in a vinyasa class. So we'll go ahead and get started and come into a seated posture. So go ahead and come into a cross-legged seat. It doesn't matter which leg is in front of the other. When you're ready, we're going to begin by taking the left hand, crossing it over to the right knee. Get a firm grip on that right knee, and then go ahead and place the right hand on top of the left. From here, we're going to start by taking a nice stretch into the back body by tucking the tailbone, curling the back, rounding the tailbone underneath, drawing the navel in, and then rounding into the upper body, perhaps drawing the chin towards the chest. Press the right knee down and away from you. Encourage that right knee to stay connected or moving down towards the mat as you stretch in the back. And then as you inhale, let's come back up to center. We'll reverse and take this over to the left side. So the right hand goes to the left knee. Place the left hand on top of the right. And let's curl, rounding into the back, leaning back slightly as the weight shifts towards the back right hip. And we'll still keep that left knee pressing down and away, creating this opposing force. And a nice big stretch from the right pinky all the way down the back side of the right shoulder. Inhale, let's return to neutral. We'll take that one more time on each side since it does feel so good. Left hand to the right knee, right hand stacks on top. We'll round, stretch it out, tuck the tailbone. Maybe coming a little bit deeper this time. Playing with the angle, maybe you shift a little more towards the left, maybe a little bit more towards the back of the room. Find that sweet spot in the back body where you would just want to hold and stretch it out. Keep breathing. And then again, we'll come back to neutral. Let's go right hand to the left knee. Left hand stacks on top. Tuck the tailbone. Allow the chin to dip down. And feel your way into this stretch. Very good. When you're ready, we'll return to neutral. From here, we're going to take the left forearm. Either bring it to a block so that you can bring the earth a little bit higher to you, or if it's all right, and you can still feel grounded and connected, bring the left forearm all the way down to the mat. Spread the fingertips so you feel like you're supported with a little kickstand. Inhale, open the right arm up. Maybe even reach the right fingertips towards the back of the room. Widen across the front of the chest and the collarbone. Exhale, reach the right fingertips towards the corner of your mat. Allow yourself to bow down. Keep the right hip connected and pushing down and away. So again, we have this opposing stretch from the right fingertips and then all the way down to the right hip. Inhale, open the right arm up. And then exhale, twist. Stretching out the back body. Inhale, open. And then exhale, reach and twist, bowing with the head. When you're ready, we'll go ahead and bring ourselves up to neutral. Go ahead and take a breath if you'd like. Pause here, allow the spine to neutralize. Some really nice juicy stretching and twists. When you're ready, we'll move it on over to the right side. Bring the right forearm either to the mat or onto a block. Reaching down, spread the fingertips out. Feel stable here. When you're ready, we'll inhale, open the left arm up to the sky. Exhale, we come into that twist. Reach the left fingertips out and away from you at a diagonal. At the same time, firmly press the left hip down towards the mat. Inhale, open. Exhale, reach and twist. Inhale, open one more time. Exhale, twist. And then go ahead and bring yourself back up to center. From here, we'll move into our seated butterfly pose, starting to work on the inner thighs. Bring the soles of the feet together. Your choice on whether you want them a little farther away or to bring the ankles, the heels in closer towards the groin. When you're ready, we'll go ahead and start to fold ourselves forward. Just relaxing into the pose to start our practice. Allow the head and the neck just to hang heavy, and try to avoid pulling or forcing the posture deeper. Start to move deeply into the breath. And as you find and discover your breath, you start to move the breath freely throughout the body, passing into the hips. And slowly you'll discover that using this movement of the breath, it'll allow the hips, the low back, and the spine, the inner thighs to relax and to open more deeply. As you hold here, know that you may sink a little bit more closer towards the feet. As your body becomes more soft and more open to the posture. On the next inhale, let's go ahead and use our hands to walk ourselves back up to an upright position. And then bring the knees together. From here, we're going to spin the heels underneath us and come to a kneeling position. So coming into our hero pose, just sitting back onto the heels. You can have a blanket underneath the feet if you need a little padding to make this more comfortable onto the tops of the feet and the ankles. Sitting onto the ankles like this, even for short periods, a couple of minutes at a time, adding this pressure slowly will build strength into the feet and to the ankles. These small movements do have quite a bit of value. And since we are going to be holding here, we're going to keep this hold in the low body, but we might as well do something with the upper body. So we'll come into a shoulder opener. Interlace the fingers behind you. Go ahead and bend deeply into the elbows. And then when you're ready, we're going to start to straighten the elbows, draw the knuckles down towards the mat. At the same time, lift the heart center up, drawing the heart towards the sky, and then the knuckles down towards the earth. Be mindful of the neck. You can keep the neck neutral. If it feels good, you can allow the head to fall back. Now, holding here, if you can, start to not only draw the knuckles down towards the earth, but start to bring them further away from the body. This will increase the back bend because we want to still keep the chest rising up. Opening the front of the body, still breathing. Slowly come to neutral, but keep the interlace of the fingers behind you. And then we'll go ahead and start the bend at the hips, folding forward, bringing the crown of the head down towards the earth, lifting the knuckles up towards the sky. As you hold here, try to bring the knuckles closer towards the front of the room, pinching the shoulder blades together. Avoiding any sharpness. If you do feel sharpness, please back out of the posture. And then slowly make your way in. Nice steady breaths here. And when you're ready, we'll go ahead and rise up. Once you've made your way back to the top, go ahead and release the fingertips. You can go ahead and shake out the arms, stretch out the shoulders. Give the shoulders a little relief by bringing them up to the ears like they're little shoulder earrings. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze real tight, and then drop the shoulders down, release. Let's do that one more time. Squeeze the shoulders up real tight towards the ears, and then drop them down, release. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and shift forward, come off of those ankles, coming into tabletop. Now we're just coming through tabletop to find our alignment first by having the hips directly over the knees. And the knees are separated so that they're approximately hip width distance apart. The upper body will go ahead and start to walk those arms out nice and long, preparing for, yes, melting heart, or as you would call it in vinyasa, puppy pose. So you can bring the chest and the forehead down towards the mat. Or if it feels good, you can go ahead and rest the chin onto the mat. Now, only do this if it feels fine on your neck and also on your throat. We'll hold here in our puppy pose. Allow the belly to be soft. Press into the mat with the forearms. Holding for about 5 breaths here. To come out of puppy, we're going to actually snake our way forward. As we shift the hips to come down onto the mat, maybe rock the hips from left to right. Open up the feet nice and wide and come into Sphinx pose. In your Sphinx, your elbows should be slightly in front of the shoulders. If they're too close to have the elbows directly underneath the shoulders, you're going to have more of an exaggerated back bend, and you'll feel that even more into your lower back as well. So keeping them just in front, maybe 1 or 2 inches of the shoulders, will allow a more gradual back bend and a better feeling into that low back. Fingers are facing the front edge of the mat. I prefer to have my forearms at a slight diagonal. Press into the forearms, lift the heart center up. Stay open throughout the heart center. Avoid collapsing and allowing your shoulders to come up towards your ears. Enjoy the feeling of your breath as your belly expands into the mat and then releases, and you feel the hips sink a little further into the earth. We'll move into a small movement here in our back bend. So go ahead and allow the torso to come to the earth and bring the hands directly underneath the shoulders. We'll go into some back bend rolls here. So as you inhale, we'll use the hands to help ourselves lift up into a baby cobra. It doesn't have to be super high. Exhale, release it down. Inhale, rise up using the muscles of the back body and the spine. And then go ahead and release it down. Rise up. Release. Gentle spinal rolls, going at our own pace, using our breath. We'll take 3 more here. And on the last one, we lower. From here, we bring the hands out just slightly in front of us and also at a diagonal. Tent the fingers so that you feel like you have nice fluffy cupcakes underneath the hands that you want to avoid smushing. And then we're going to push up into seal pose, deepening our back bend. Elbows can be straight or slightly bent. I like to have my elbows slightly bent to avoid hyperextending. And remember, the further the hands are away from you, the easier the back bend will be. If you bring them in closer, that will deepen the back bend. Holding here for 5 breaths. Beautiful. Go ahead and lower down. For a moment, we're going to come to crocodile pose. Just rest the forehead onto the back of the arms. Allow the body to relax from that back body work. Take a deep breath. Feel the ribs expand. Exhale, relax. Allow yourself to surrender during the work. And as we move into the next series, make sure you have your blocks nearby. We want to be supported in the next postures as they'll be fairly deep hip openers and also inner thigh opening. A couple of areas where we generally lack strength and can get very, very tight. So we want to make sure we're supported using props or even our hands to support us. Sometimes the hands can get tiring though. We want the body to relax because if we tighten and the muscles and the nerves get signals that we are not supported, we can't relax deeper into the joints and fascia. When you're ready, we're going to push back. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Go ahead and tuck the toes. Come through tabletop, and we'll actually come into a downward facing dog. We won't stay here. This is mostly as a transition point, but we might as well enjoy our down dog. Let's go ahead and walk the feet. Pedal the feet out, stretching into the back of the legs, and push into the mat with the upper body. This is probably, or could be, your first down dog of the day. It is for me. So my calves and my ankles are a little bit tight. And when you're ready, we're going to step the right foot up, starting on the right side, bringing the right knee to the right wrist, coming into our swan pose or half pigeon on the right side. So the right shin can be adjusted. It does not need to be parallel with the top edge of the mat. That's all dependent on your knee and your body. I like to keep mine at a bigger angle. This is my first practice of the day, so I feel very tight, especially as I did quite a lot of work yesterday. It's amazing how tight we can get. Even for someone, I practice almost every single day, and I still get tight, and working on mobility is a daily routine. So know that even though you see whatever pictures you see on Instagram or whatever it may be, it all takes practice, and it's a daily thing for any of those yogis that make these beautiful postures. It takes time and it takes work. So holding here in your pigeon pose, or swan as we would call it in yin, you can stay up nice and high. I like this feeling because I feel it deeply into my hips and also into my right glute. Or if you'd like, you can start to lay the torso over the front of the right shin, maybe coming to forearms or even all the way down into the belly. Give both shapes a try. Stay where you feel like you need it most. So if staying up high into your half pigeon feels like too much of a back bend, then go ahead and lower down. From your pigeon pose, we're going to tuck the back toes, push back again into a downward facing dog, walk the feet out, release that right hip, push into your downward facing dog, just taking some time to allow the fluids and the blood to return into that right leg and hip. When you're ready, we're going to take a big step up with the right foot, stepping it to the outside of the right hand, coming into our dragon pose, also known as lizard in your vinyasa classes. Finding our dragon, the right shin should be on the outside of the upper arm. And then you can stay up nice and high in your lizard. You can lower the forearms onto blocks. Or you can lower the forearms all the way to the mat if you are feeling open. Know that as we hold here, you can always come further down as your body releases a little bit more using the breath. We'll hold a little bit longer here in our lizard pose. Keep breathing. That left knee should be facing right down towards the mat. Avoid turning the left leg out. And if you want to go a little further into your dragon pose, you can allow the right knee to drop over towards the right side, coming into a winged dragon. And then the right foot, if you can see on camera, the sole of my right foot has lifted up off of the mat so that it tracks in line with the knee as the knee opens. Now, as we move into the next posture, go ahead and listen and follow along. Maybe watch the screen so you can see the transition. Start to bring the right knee pointed up towards the sky. If you were lowered down onto your forearms, let's bring it back up to the hands. We'll walk that right foot over in towards the midline. So now we're basically in a runner's lunge position. But we're going to bring the right foot past the midline and start to point the right toes towards the top left corner of the mat. And this is where we're going to want to have our blocks nearby. As we transition, we're going to walk the hands off towards the left side of the mat, spinning the body to face the left side. So now I have come up onto the sole of the left foot, and I'm in this really kind of a deep spidery lunge over towards the right. Now you could certainly hold it up here, staying up on your hands. Of course, that's going to be a lot of work into your upper body. So as we hold, I would suggest having one or even two blocks to come onto and rest the glutes onto as we come into this deep inner thigh stretch on the right side. So it's like being in a supported skandasana. I'm going to keep the left sole of the foot, for me, is going to be flat onto the earth. But if you'd like to keep the toes lifted, point them up to the sky as you would in Skandasana, feel free to do so. For me, the connection by having the sole of the foot pressing down onto the mat is actually working more into the entire length of the left leg. And then my right elbow is pressing into the inside of my right knee. I'm going to keep it up at 2 blocks high for myself today because I'm still getting a very, very good stretch having 2 blocks underneath me. And remember, even if you do have the blocks and are using them as support, you can still have the hands down here as well and have the upper body leaning down towards the mat if this works better for you. Feel supported. Don't feel like you have to try to remain in a struggling balancing action. We want to be able to hold the stretch, and having the blocks resting and holding the glutes is helpful. If you have the upper body and the fingertips onto the mat, that will also help the lower body relax, and you can still use that right elbow to push into the right knee to keep it open. Wherever you're at, we'll hold here for about 3 more breaths. All right, now to come out of this, we want to make sure we still feel supported and we're moving safely. So if you want to, you can start to move. You can move that left foot in a little bit closer. Press into the earth with your hands and also your feet so that you can lift the hips up. Keep the legs nice and wide. I'm just going to move my blocks here to come in front. And then the toes are turned out at a diagonal still. And we're going to use those blocks once more. Again, you can also come to your fingertips, but I like to have a feeling that the earth is a little bit higher, more accessible. And we're going to take some dips from left to right as we kind of spider lunge from left to right. So bend into the left knee, shift the left hip over towards the left, getting a little stretch here, actively stretching into the left, and then shifting it over towards the right. Let's go ahead and take that to each side. Again, shifting left and then over to the right. Once more left. And then we'll go back to the right. And when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and set those blocks aside and turn ourselves to face the back edge of the mat. Move into swan pose right away onto the left side facing the back. So we'll shift that left knee down towards the left wrist. Start to walk the right leg back behind you. And then the right knee should be facing down. I'll move the blocks slightly out of the way so that you can see better. Again, finding our swan pose on this side, you can keep it up nice and tall, or if it feels good, go ahead and lower yourself down over the front edge of that left shin. I'm going to keep it up tall today and try to get a little bit more room into my left hip flexor. Also, I happen to enjoy the back bend in our swan pose. This is kind of one of those poses that I think we maybe love it or hate it. It can be so intense into the hips. Now, during all that intense work into the inner thighs and into the legs, let's move back into finding the breath. Relax the shoulders. Relax the muscles of the face. If you're lowered down in your swan pose, start to walk yourself up to an upright position. And then we'll go ahead and tuck the back toes. Press down into the mat with your hands and shift that left leg back, coming into our downward facing dog. Once more using this as a transition, but we'll pedal it out so we can release that left hip. Maybe shift the hips from side to side. Explore what feels good as we use this downward facing dog as a resting pose. And when you're ready, we'll step the left foot all the way up to the outside of the left hand. Lower the right knee down, finding our lizard or dragon pose on the left side. Feel the hips become heavy and reach down towards the earth. You can spend your time up high and lifted in your dragon pose. Perhaps lowering the forearms either to blocks or all the way to the mat. Find your edge. Explore your limits. Never going past any place that feels sharp or intense. We want to feel a very, very deep stretch that we can hold, but still relax the other areas of our body. So we're not clenching into the jaw. We can still breathe deeply into the movement. If you feel like you would like to explore even more depth in the pose, you can allow that left knee to wing out for our winged dragon. The left sole of the foot would lift up off of the mat and track in line with the knee. The hips perhaps sink a little closer towards the mat. From here, we're going to transition into that side lunge. So we'll start to bring the knee back to face the ceiling, push ourselves up onto our hands if we were lowered down onto the earth. And then begin by walking the left foot in towards midline. We'll go just slightly past midline and bring the left toes onto a diagonal. From here, walking the hands to the right as we spin to face the side of our mat. And then spin the right foot so that we come up more onto the sole of the foot. And we begin this very deep lunge over towards the left, like a spider lunge. And then find your blocks. Situate your blocks, whether you want one block or two. And then start to lower down onto those blocks. Press into the left knee with the left elbow. Again, you can play around with the right leg. Maybe you want the right toes to come up towards the sky. Whichever posture you can find comes to your advantage. So find your support system, whether it's blocks, whether you have your hands down onto the earth so that you feel like you have better balance. Explore the variations that you have available to you and use them so that you can feel yourself supported. And then once you're supported, notice if you can allow the muscles to relax and to give a little bit. Once you are in that area where the nerves can relax, the muscles will relax, and then you can find your way deeper into the joints and the fascia of the body. And now to come out of this posture, we're going to move with care and also very slow movement. So we're going to press down into the mat with our hands, push down with our feet so that we can lift the hips up. Keep the feet out nice and wide. Turn the toes at a diagonal, and we're going to take those shifts from left to right once more. Perhaps grab your blocks, or else you could take the fingertips down towards the earth. And then shift to the left, bending the left knee, shifting, deepening into the left hip, and then we'll take it over towards the right. Moving the blocks with you as you see fit. We'll take 3 rounds. Notice how we're getting a little mobility into the ankles as we do this as well. We'll go one more time, ending on the right side. And then we'll return back to center, spin the toes so that the feet are parallel and the toes are just slightly turned inward. Starting with the flat back. You can stay right here if you already feel a stretch. But if you'd like to deepen, we're going to take a forward fold in our wide-legged stance. Hands can come to the mat and bow the head down. Allow ourselves to dangle here in our wide-legged forward fold. A version of our dangling pose that we would have in a traditional yin class. But here we're taking a wide-legged stance and holding. The head and the neck just hang. Maybe give yourself a little shake of the head, like you're saying no, to release the back of the neck. Feel the weight drop into the heels of the feet. Breathe deeply into the low back. And then come up into a flat back position. Heel toe the feet in. From here, we'll lower down onto our knees. Moving the blocks out of the way just for now. Coming into our frog pose. And I'm going to turn to the side. You can definitely stay with the length of your mat so that your knees feel like they're cushioned. For me, I'm going to come to the side so it's a little easier to see. We'll begin by opening up the knees. Taking the knees as wide as feels comfortable, but still challenging that edge. And then notice that the heels will be in line with the knees. And you create a 90-degree angle from the thigh and the shin. From here, you can stay up high or lower down onto your forearms. And then keep the hips shifting back. So the tailbone is pushing towards the back wall. Another great inner thigh stretch. I think frog pose is probably the king of all inner thigh stretches. One of those that really makes us want to grit our teeth. But if you are at that point where you feel like you're gripping and you are trying to, and you're clenching in your face because it's so intense, come out of the pose, allow the hips to shift forward slightly, take some of the pressure off, and slowly ease back in when you're ready. To come out of our frog pose, we want to start to shift the hips forward slightly. If you bring the heels together, this will help you come out of the posture a little more easily. Start to draw the knees in towards one another. And then we're going to shift the heels off to the side and come to a seat. Finding a version of our half cow face pose. We'll keep the left leg straight and stack the right knee on top of the left. Optional for you is to come into our cow face arms. So for this version, you'd have the right back of the right hand come in between the shoulder blades. Work the hand up as high as you can get it. Either use a strap or you can also grab a hold of your bra strap. Bring the left fingertips to reach the right, finding your cow face arms. You can stay up high, or if you like, you can start to bend forward. Working not only the upper body, but also into the back of that left leg. Breathe here as we hold for about 5 breaths. On the next inhale, lift up with the torso. Unclasp the fingers if you had the cow face arms. And then release the right knee from the top of the left. We'll reverse that now, keeping the right leg out long, and stack the left knee on top of the right. This time the back of the left hand comes in between the shoulder blades, trying to get that left hand as high as possible. Reach back with the right fingertips and then try to grab a hold of the left. Maybe grabbing the fingertips. If you can reach all the way down to the palms, that's amazing. And then when you're ready, maybe start to shift forward with the hips coming into a forward fold. So a lot is going on here, especially if you did take the cow face arms position. Working into the shoulders, the back, that right hamstring, the left hip flexor. We're still breathing. Maybe we have a little smile. On the next inhale, we'll go ahead and rise up. Release the arms. Unwind the legs. And then when you're ready, we'll go ahead and lower down onto our backs, coming into our final pose, our Shavasana. Finding the Shavasana that you love, whether it's knees bent, maybe it's legs extended out long. Maybe you like to get extra cozy with a blanket. Wherever you're at, arms can be open, or maybe you'd like to just rest the hands on the belly as I am today. Enjoy this last minute or two on your mat. And thank you for accepting the challenge of going a little bit deeper into your body today. Inner thigh work and hip work is often quite intense. These areas that get so tight. They take time to build up strength and mobility. As we end class, maybe you notice a little bit of warmth into the low body. Even a tingling sensation as you feel this energy all the way from the toes to the fingertips. This little gratitude of your body saying thank you for adding movement into your day and for challenging yourself. When you do feel ready, you can slowly make your way onto your side and push yourself up to a seated position, a cross-legged seat at the center of your mat, just as we started today. To close your class, we'll take an inhale, reach the fingertips up towards the sky, allow the palms to touch as we draw the hands down through heart center. Thank you for coming to your mat today. I hope you enjoyed this class. If you did, please leave me a comment below. Let me know things that you like and what you may want added into your personal yoga practice. Hit that subscribe button for new classes weekly. As always, I hope you have a great day. Make it a good one. Bye.